Namaskar everyone. Very good morning. Namaskar everyone and very good morning. Sorry about that. Namaskar everyone and very good morning. I guess it doesn't want to work. I can just leave it out. Namaskar everyone and very good morning.
Do it one more time in good practice.
Happy to receive your divine energy, especially Pujya Swami and Pujya Saraswati. Pranam Swamiji and Pranam Saraswati. Pranam. I'm sure we all had a wonderful time yesterday, and we are very blessed to be here with the two of the divine energy, Pujya Swamiji and Pujya Saraswati. We had wonderful time yesterday. The satsang, the nature walk was brilliant. I'm sure we all enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And we had a wonderful yoga session this morning. Whoever made it was brilliant, really nice. I was like, I was ready to sleep again. And the nature walk was brilliant. I'm sure we all made it, right? We all made it, yeah. The nature walk was really, really good, and we felt very connected to the nature, and almost like meditation. We can't switch off when we sit down to do meditation, but when we went this morning for the nature walk, it's just literally like boom, we were like connected straight away. It was a brilliant experience. So it was really wonderful, and all because of the grace of divine energy of Pujya Swamiji and Saraswati, we are able to connect to the nature. So it's very nice. I would welcome Puspaben and Dinesh Bhai to honor Swamiji and Swamiji. Thank you, Puspaben and Dinesh Bhai. Now, after a successful and very enjoyable session yesterday, we shall start our second session. So I would request Pujya Sadhvi to start off with the second session, Achieving Conscious Dharmic Relations, and bless us with her wisdom and knowledge. Thank you.
Param Pujya Swamiji. Let's begin the morning with a meditation, because while connecting with nature while we walk is so incredibly powerful and important and beautiful and awakening, and all of those essential virtues, those essential elements. And while there are so many ways to it's really important also to try at least to cultivate a seated meditation practice. It's not the other things instead of a seated meditation, it's the other things in addition to a seated meditation. And so we take the experience that we have while we sit with our eyes closed in one place, in quiet, going within, and we bring that into the minutes and the moments of our life. We bring that awareness into walking, into eating, ultimately, ideally, into working, into driving, into grocery shopping, into doing dishes, into whatever we're doing. But that anchoring should happen with a seated meditation practice. So over these days, we're going to try to begin the sessions with at least a few minutes. I know a lot of people say, well, I can't sit and meditate. You can sit and meditate. And we'll talk over these days of what it is that makes us feel like we can't and how to address them. But for right now, just close your eyes. Don't go into meditation expecting what's going to happen or being attached to what's going to happen or with any sense of right or wrong or good or bad. Just allow the awareness to pull from the world outside to the world inside. And as we began last night, allow yourself to really arrive. Not just the body, but allow the full being to really arrive here. Bring the mind into your breath right here, right now. This breath. And then this breath. And this breath. The mind will wander. It's the nature of the mind. But just keep bringing it back to this breath. Right here. Right now. Whether it wanders due to a sound or a smell or a thought, doesn't matter. Don't create any drama around it. Just bring the mind back. as you breathe, allow the awareness to scan the physical body, beginning with your toes and the bottoms of your feet. And you're going to move at your own pace, slowly, slowly, up through the body. And what I want you to notice simply is the breath flowing here. Because that breath should flow through the body. There should be ease, softness and suppleness, openness through the body. And as you breathe, notice where in the body does the breath flow, and where is it constricted, where is it tight, where am I holding on? And don't judge, don't analyze, don't tell yourselves a story. But if you notice a place that feels constricted and tight, a place where the breath isn't flowing, just allow the awareness to rest there for a moment. And see whether, as you take a few extra deep breaths, can you allow that muscle, that part of the body, to release and let go and open. So move at your own pace, slowly, through all the parts of the body. And allow the breath, allow the awareness to permeate every cell, every corner. And remember, no judging or analyzing, just awareness of the flow of the breath throughout the being. If you find a place that's constricted, tight, just notice how your awareness of it, how your willingness to sit with it and breathe into it allows it to release, allows it to open and let go. Pay special attention to areas around the heart, around the stomach, around the back, shoulders and neck. The places where we tend to hold on. Let them go. Allow the breath to flow through them, bringing light, allow them to open and release. Take about another half a minute. Notice the areas of the face. Do you grip in the jaw, around the eyes and the forehead, back of your neck? Where are you holding on? And gently breathe into that area, letting it soften and let go. In this moment, in this breath, all is exactly as it should be. You are exactly as you should be. Notice now in the last few seconds the freer flow of the breath through the being, the lightness, the softness, the openness. And bring your palms together at chest level. rub them gently against each other. Place the palms over your closed eyes. And gently open your eyes and lower your hands. So our theme this morning is conscious Dharmic relationships. And in order to have any kind of a conscious or Dharmic relationship, we have to start with ourselves. Because a relationship is what we bring to it. There's a beautiful quotation that I love. I don't know who said it, but I love it. And it says, whatever is missing from any situation is what you are not bringing to that situation. Usually we're so quick to point fingers and say, well, this person or that traffic or this thing or that. And I love that quote because it just keeps bringing it back to you. It doesn't say it's your fault. It doesn't say you're bad. It doesn't say you're the problem. But it simply says, whatever is missing means in your sense of this situation is missing that. Well, it means that's your role to bring it into that situation. So, not enough love, not experiencing enough love. Okay, well, you better start bringing some love. Not experiencing enough peace. Okay, well, you better start generating some peace. Not experiencing enough sense of community or connection. Well, all right, you better start figuring out how to feel connected, how to create community. Whatever it is that you feel in individual situations is missing is what you are not bringing to it. So I love that quotation, and we have to look at the relationship first with ourselves. Because long before we can go into any relationship with another, we have to have one with ourselves. And so I want to begin by talking about that relationship. How do we have a conscious and dharmic relationship with ourselves? Well, the most important aspect of it is truth. There's all sorts of rules of how we relate in the world. But in terms of with ourselves, the most important aspect, the non-negotiable aspect of your relationship with yourself is truth. And that truth takes two sides. The first aspect is to be aware, as I began, with that sense of whatever is missing from any situation is that which you're not bringing to it. So the first of that honest, conscious relationship with myself is, where do I stand? You know, one of the first teachings that I ever heard Pujya Swami Chidanand give was this multivitamin of a spiritual life, of meditation in the morning and no reaction during the day, and introspection in the evening. Those of you who have been connected to Pujya Swamiji know this is a core teaching of his. And when he speaks about introspection in the evening, he always says, you know, at the end of the day, accountants and business people, or if it's not the day, it's the week, whatever it is, they look at their books and they say, well, all right, so how much did we make? How much did we spend? Where do we stand? And he said, you know, you've got to do that at the end of each day, your own internal balance sheet. And so the first aspect when we're talking about being dharmic and conscious with ourselves is really, where do I stand? And we're going to begin on the outer and we're going to keep moving deeper and deeper. But on that outer level, where do I stand? Because all of that, thankfully, is not actually the core of who we are. And we're going to come to that in a moment. Because the core of who we are is perfect and pure and divine and all of that. But this aspect of me that moves through the world, this identity, this personality, these habits, this way of being, this way of interacting, the me who's going to go into relationship with other people, whether it's family, whether it's romance, whether it's friends, whether it's the workplace, whether it's community or neighbors, there's an outer me that is going into relationships. So all right, how does that outer me stand? Where do I stand? My emotions, am I losing my temper? Am I compassionate? Am I selfish? How do I identify myself? How do I move into these relationships? And that's the first place to really begin, is with that awareness of the self. Who is the I who's moving into these relationships? How do I identify? Who do I think I am? What's my ego story? And then, how do I let that go? Because the most damaging aspect of our relationship with other people is when I can't let go of my own story. When I can't let go of my own framework for seeing things. So, an example that I always give on this is a personal example. My mom, wonderful, amazing woman, many of you know her, and very, very particular. Everything has a correct time, a correct place, a correct way. And when I grew up, my mom would wait at the window, and my dad, on the other hand, is somewhat more, as we would say, mellow. And my dad would tell my mom he was going to be home, and she'd say, what time are you going to be home? And he'd say, well, I'm going to be home around 7. Well, by 6:45, my mom is standing at the window saying, where is he already? Now, what I love about that is when my dad would walk in at 7, or even sometimes 5:45, he was on time. But in my mom's view, he was already late. And there was tension. And I love that example because it's so simple, it's so uncomplex. And it helps us really understand what it is that happens in relationships. We walk in with our way of being, our sense of how things should be, what's right, what's not right. And usually it's deeper than that, but this is a very, very simple example. And when the people we are in relationship with don't abide by that, so God forbid someone should think that 5 to 7 counted as on time when you said you were going to be there at 7, without realizing that actually 7 meant 6:45. you have conflict and you have stress, and then you have two people, each with completely different frameworks, with completely different truths, who love each other deeply, but are in that state of conflict. And this is where I say we have to begin talking about conscious and dharmic relationships with ourselves. So what is it in me? Who is the I stepping into these relationships? Where really do I stand? What games is my ego playing with me? Because the ego is incredibly insidious. It will tell you anything you want to hear. It will justify and rationalize any behavior for you. It's brilliant at it. That's what it does for its survival. And so the ego is always going to be the one to tell you, I'm right. And this is where going in and really looking. The other quote that I love, that I also don't know who said it, is, if you are miserable in a room alone, chances are you are the cause. And it's so simple and so obvious, and yet how many of us have ever sat in a room and sulked alone, right? And you think, and as you're sitting in there, you're thinking, oh, that person, that person, that person. Well, here you are in a room alone, miserable, but you're convinced that the problem is someone else. And so when we're really honest with ourselves, when we're really having conscious dharmic relationships, because you cannot be conscious or dharmic without being honest. That is the core, as I said, non-negotiable criterion before we even start to begin to talk about other aspects of Dharma. There has to be honesty. So what is it that is making me miserable in this room alone? Me. My way of interpreting, my way of looking, my ego, my attachments, my expectations. So the first aspect is this honesty with where do I stand. But that honesty takes another deeper level, which is actually who you are is divine. And it is just as dishonest for you to say, oh, God, I'm worthless, I'm stupid, I'm horrible, I'm this, I'm that. Just as dishonest to say that as it is to say, I'm always right, I'm the good one, I'm the responsible one. Because the truth of who you are is divinity. And so what happens when we start to introspect, if we do it honestly and we do it courageously, like we really let ourselves go into the truth of who we are, the darkness of, oh my God, look at the games my ego's playing, look at the games my story's playing, look at the games my jealousy, my competition, my expectations, my attachments, look at the games those are playing. Suddenly, if we're honest with ourselves and courageous to really sit and keep looking, it's very easy to feel like, oh my God, oh, I should just, crawl into a corner and sort of wait to die. But that's just as dishonest. That's just as unconscious, because that's only this level of your drama. The truth of who you are is divinity, is consciousness. The core of who we are is the divine, is light, is truth, is consciousness. This is the most fundamental, basic tenet. Who you are is divine. Who you are is God. Who you are is whole and complete and infinite. When we chant Purnima, Purnamidam, Purnamadachate, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnameva Vishishyate. So we chant that mantra, one of the core mantras. It reminds us, that, the divine, capital T, that, God, whatever name we use, whatever form we use, however we conceive of the divine, is infinite, obviously, or it wouldn't be God, right? I mean, there's no religion or tradition or faith or spiritual path I know of that says God's not infinite. God just lives, over here in this box. All of the traditions, God is infinite. So if that, the capital T, that, is infinite, and this, which has been created out of that, by that, of that, is also infinite. Pujya Swami always reminds us we've been created not just by the Creator, but of the Creator. And this is what we're taught in math class. So if you don't go into this spiritually, we can go into it mathematically. Infinity divided by 100 is what? Infinity divided by 100. Infinity. So infinity divided by 7 billion? Infinity. Infinity divided by 100 billion? Infinity. However much you divide it by, it's infinite. That means if that out of which we have been created is infinite, so are we. However small a piece of that infinity we may identify as, we are infinite. And so who you are at the core is infinite. And again, whether you believe it mathematically or you believe it spiritually, either way it brings us to the same place. That divine who has created us, that is who we are. Pure, perfect, light, truth, love, full, whole, complete. And that needs to form this basis of your conscious and dharmic relations with others. Because as we relate to others, if we relate from a place of feeling full of holes, there's things wrong with me, I need you to fill me. I need you to tell me I am wonderful and beautiful and smart so that I feel okay. I need you to appreciate me. I need you to be nice to me even. For me to feel full, then you and I are in trouble. If I need you to behave in any way or speak in any way for me to feel whole and okay, then this relationship is doomed. Because then I'm going to spend my entire life terrified about if you don't speak or behave or do or act the way that I need. And you are going to be trapped and suffocated by my needs. Yes, you love me, of course. And you want to make me feel good. But that becomes this trap of how much I need from you to feel okay. And so each of us needs to move into our relationships knowing I'm full. This is where when Pujya Swamiji says, when couples get married, and he always says, in the science of marriage, 1 + 1 is 1. It's not half plus half. We're not each walking into a marriage or any relationship as a half. So it's not about, oh, you're going to fill me. I need to be full, because if not, we are going to have a lot of stress. I'm going to constantly need you to act in a certain way, speak in a certain way, behave in a certain way, do things a certain way for me to feel okay. And this is where all of the relationship fights come in. You didn't do this, you didn't do that, I did this, I didn't do that. Why don't you do this? You used to do that. Right? I mean, this is the stuff our daily lives are made of. And it's all because I need you to act like that so I feel okay. And the really insidious part is, I'm not going to tell it to you like that. I'm going to say it's for you. You should do that for you. Or you should do that just because it's right. But it's all because of what I need. And so our dharmic relationship with ourself is actually the most important component of being able to have a dharmic relationship with others. The other aspect of the relationship with others is what we choose. So, those of you who have been to a lot of satsangs know that I share frequently my dad's mantra for a happy relationship. My dad is a divorce attorney who has spent the last 40 plus years, 45 years, getting people divorced. And it's all he does, morning time. And he has come up with a very beautiful teaching, which, interestingly, when he and Pujya Swamiji met, Pujya Swamiji said, well, that's from the Bhagavad Gita. Now, obviously in the Gita, when Lord Krishna and Arjuna have the conversations, in Sanskrit it's slightly different language, but the teaching is the same. And my dad's mantra that he always gives, typically young men when they get married, is that the only thing they need to know how to say is, yes, dear, I will do whatever you say. And the teaching that he gives with that is he always says, look, you've only got 2 choices in your marriage. You can either be right or you can be married. And typically what we do is we are more attached to being right. And this is where we fight and where we lose. And the truth is, even though because my dad is a divorce lawyer, it comes from that world, this is true, it doesn't matter who the relationship is with. This is true if it's your neighbor, if it's your colleague, if it's your best friend, if it's your parent, your child, your in-law. In every situation, the question we have to ask ourselves is the same. Is it more important to be right, or is it more important to be at peace? Is it more important to put that person in their place and convince them that I'm right and they are wrong? Or is it more important to be at peace? And that's a choice we have probably 10 times a day. And we get to keep choosing. And you know what's great about it? Is if you find that you chose incorrectly last time, like you chose to be right, and now you've got this fight, and now things are tense, well, the good news is you're going to get to choose again. It's going to keep coming up. And if we can make a decision in our lives to choose peace, to choose love in all of our situations, whether it's a relationship with someone checking us out at a store, with an employer, with an employee, with a friend, with a family member. Simply, I choose love. I choose peace. Doesn't mean I'm weak. In fact, it means I'm very strong. Because that's always the fears. Oh my God, if I don't stand up for myself, well, they're going to think I'm weak. They're going to think I'm a doormat. They're going to think they can walk all over me. And that's the greatest fallacy and the greatest myth. To be able consciously to choose peace, to choose love, to not enable someone to steal that from you, to not be a slave that they've done something so you have to react. To be able to say, wait here, my peace, my joy, my connection to God, my love is so much more important to me than that obnoxious thing you just did. No, I'm not going to engage. No, I'm not going to lose my peace. And that's what comes from really being conscious every minute and every moment. Otherwise we react. And the last thing that I'll mention for now on this is when we are in relationship and someone hurts us, what we tend to do is hold on to it. And when you have an argument, what you tend to find is, let's say something small happened today. Now you and I are having an argument about it. But 99 times out of 100, within 2 minutes, the argument is going to go to, and you always do that. And last year, I remember we were here and you did it. And 5 years ago, I remember we were there and you did it. And 10 years ago, we were there and you did it. We hold on to things from the past. And we bring them into today. And we consciously allow that time to ruin our today. And this is where a conscious dharmic relationship requires allowing ourselves to flush things, literally, whether it's your toilet, whether it's your sink full of dishes, whatever it may be. Whatever we use that we need to work properly, you've got to run water through things, flush things, clean them, allow things to drain. Let them go. And the same thing is true in our lives, in our hearts, in our minds. Can you imagine if every time you went and put a dirty dish in the sink, somehow out of the blue, every single dirty dish that had ever existed in your house showed up simultaneously in the sink? Or every time you sat on the toilet and went to the toilet, that somehow at that moment, every toilet that you had ever done somehow simultaneously showed up in the toilet at the same time? Right? I mean, it's a horrible thought. But this is what we do in our relationships. Like right here, right now, okay, maybe you've said something that was insensitive. Maybe you forgot to do something you had promised to do. But now what I do is I literally go into the past and I dredge up every single other dirty, smelly, whatever it may be, experience, and I throw it into today's experience. It's ridiculous. And so the consciousness, the commitment to those dharmic relationships is a commitment to a very regular exercise and experience of allowing things to just let go. And a commitment to not dredging up the past. If you've already dealt with something, don't bring it up again. If you've flushed that toilet, I mean, when things come up from the past in our toilets, we call the plumber. We know there is a major problem. If we won't tolerate it in our toilets, why do we tolerate it in our hearts? Why do we tolerate it in our lives? So make a commitment. Let each moment be fresh. You know, my favorite example of this is if you have a loved one come over and they sit on your sofa and you go in and you make them a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and you make it with love with your own hands and you give it to them, and as they start to drink, they spill it all over your couch. Purposely or not purposely, either way. And after spilling it, they stand up and they walk out of your house. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Clean the sofa, right? Anybody going to leave the sofa and chase that guy down the street? Get back here. Clean up this mess. Anybody going to wait for them to show back up again at some point so that they can see the mess they made on your couch? Anybody going to get a lamp and shine a lamp on it so that everybody who comes into your house can see what they did, and maybe hang a little sign that says done by so-and-so? We understand. I've got to live with that couch. If it starts to smell, if it starts to attract bugs, well, that's my house, that's my couch. That's going to ruin my experience of sitting in my living room. So my very first order of business is to clean the couch. I'll deal with that guy later. But when people hurt our hearts, that's what we do. When someone hurts us, our very first order of business needs to be, how do I breathe through that? How do I breathe love into that? How do I sit with that and allow it to heal, allow the light, allow the love, allow the space. Why do I wait for that person to metaphorically come back with a sponge and clean me up? And why do I hold on to it as some sort of, badge of what I've been through? Look, this guy, this to me. Why do we do that? I have to live with it. The festering of my heart is in me. And so where we bring consciousness and we bring Dharma to our relationships, that first order of business must be to clean and to flush. Because we have to live with ourselves. And the very last point I think that I want to mention about Dharmic relationships in general is our relationship with the earth, our relationship with this planet, our relationship with humanity. Because we're not just living with our 2 or 3 or 4 family members or 10 family members or our handful of co-workers and friends. We're living here on planet Earth. And we are also called upon to have a dharmic and conscious relationship with this planet. And that requires us to move through our lives, really asking ourselves, am I treading on this earth according to the tenets of my tradition? Am I moving through this earth with ahimsa, non-violence, with truthfulness? Right? If you look at just the yamas that are given to us by Sage Patanjali of Yoga, this is core dharma. And it's not even Dharma of the Hindu tradition or the Jain tradition or the Sikh tradition or any tradition. Any religion we look at actually has teachings that are the same. Different languages, different ways of stating them. But these are really core commandments of just living a dharmic life, a life of integrity. As long as you identify as a human, it doesn't matter whether you identify as a Hindu or a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim or a Jain or an atheist, it doesn't matter. As long as you identify as human. These core tenets are the same. Non-violence, truthfulness, non-stealing, non-hoarding, integrity in our relationships. And the minute that we actually commit ourselves to living like that, suddenly what we eat, what we buy, what we wear, how we shop, everything changes. Because I have to be aware of the ripple impact on the world. And if I'm really honest, what I realize is that price tags, for example, are not just what I pay when I buy something off the rack, but the price tag has to include what is the impact of this on the soil in which the cotton was grown, for example. What is the impact of this on the river that runs through that now has chemical waste flowing through it? What is the impact of on the people who live on that river? The farmers who are picking that cotton, or the women and the children who are working in those sweatshops and factories, whatever it may be. But we are called today, and this is one of the real exquisite beauties of the Indian spiritual tradition, is when we say Sanatan Dharma, eternal, an eternal Dharma. And we're seeing that so beautifully today, is that, yeah, we got these thousands of years ago, long before anybody was talking about global warming, long before we had climate change, long before we had water shortages. And yet, the teachings are Sanatan, the teachings are eternal, and here we are today able to look at them and say, oh wow, yeah, this is how we're supposed to move through the world. With that awareness of the sacredness of this planet, the sacredness of those with whom we share it, the sacredness of the future. And so that's a core and crucial element of dharmic relationships. Even if your relationships within four walls are very good, if your footprint upon this earth, through what you eat, through how you shop, through what you buy, through how you live, is one of violence, is one of oppression, then we haven't yet reached the fullness and the height of where we're going. And that's okay. Pujya Swami Chidanand always says, whenever you wake up, it's morning. So here we are now, looking at this. Don't worry about the past. The question is, from now, how can I move through the world consciously and dharmically? And I'll end here. I'll ask Pujya Swamiji to bless us, and we then will also take any questions that people have. So just a quick note before Pujya Swamiji begins his blessings is that you all have been given pads and pens, and when we have the time for the questions and answers, we will have people collect them from you. And again, as I mentioned last night, if you want to raise your hand and ask a question, that's completely fine. But we also do have this more anonymous way of submitting your questions.
Mangalam Bhagavan Vishnu Mangalam Garuda-dhwaja Mangalam Pundarikaksho Mangalayatano Harihi Sarvamangalamangalye Shive Sarvat Sadhike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute Brahma Muraris Tripurantakari Bhanu Shashibhu Misuto Buddhasya Gurusya Shukraha Shanirahu Ketava Sarve Graha Shantikara Bhavantu Sarve Graha Shantikara Bhavantu Sarve Graha Shantikara Bhavantu Om Sahana Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Asato ma Sadgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Ghanaya Om Dear Sadhvi, dear Swamiji, and my sisters and brothers, with a lot of devotion and efforts, this beautiful Vedic mantras small booklet has been designed and printed. The purpose is to learn, to memorize, and to live in our daily life. And the purpose is when we can learn, we can teach to our children. Today or someday, they will need that light in their lives. These mantras can open the locks of their hearts. These mantras can remove all that fear. Because of that fear, what drama and what ego story happens every day in our life at Sadhviji, so beautifully narrated and explained very divinely. I think this one lecture, if we can take in our life, you will not need any other lecture. Just to practice every day. Why this drama? Why this pain through this drama? Because of this drama. Why this darkness? Every day I have to face and I have to forget. Why to forget? I think this one tape, if you listen every day, it will relieve so much suffering, pain, and darkness from your lives. Only thing is the practice. Even the Arjuna asked Krishna, Lord Krishna asked in the Bhagavad Gita, I don't know why all the time, again and again and again, this mind is giving me so much pain. Even you are in front of me, I am there in front of you. But still this mind has so many doubts. So many questions. In the 6th chapter, Lord Krishna beautifully replied, yes, mind has so many sanskaras, impressions, stories, dramas of life after life. And all the stories, all that ego stories, all that drama can only be taken care of when you practice what I said in the Bhagavad Gita every day. So this time I thought, select few mantras. Suddenly it came to me, why this fear? And what is that which can remove this fear? Which can make our life so peaceful, rather than being in pieces, that we can be one piece. We are torn, we are shattered, we are broken so many times not in our life, every day. So much fear, so much darkness. Before we sleep, and even during the sleep, people wake up in the night and go through this pain. Then they take tablets, the pills. The mantras are so beautiful. The power of the mantras, one day I will speak to you, how this very subtly, works in your system, in your neuron system, and how you can charge yourself through these mantras, and you can become that power, you can become that divinity. What we forget that we are divine. Is all that pain, all that suffering is because we forget. In Guru Nanak Dev Ji so beautifully explained in Guru Granth Sahib, Kattak karma kamamane doshna kahu jog Parameshwar te pulya vyapana sabhe rog. He said, why this pain happens in our life? He said, the only reason is that because we forget our connection. We don't maintain our connection. Yesterday when we left after the satsang was over, right after that, I have lost my connection. I have lost my connection. It's not the connection of the phone. When our life becomes phony and funny, believe me, that connection is lost. And because this connection is lost, that's why it's the pain. So kattak karma kamamane dosh na kahu jo, kisi ko bhi dosh mat dijiye. Don't blame others. Because of you, I am in pain. That creates even greater pain. That the moment you look at others, point your fingers at others, that because of you I am in pain. That insecurity, that fear, God has never ever thought about that. That if someday people forget me, then what? I did everything. I did all this beautiful lake, this landscape, this entire drama what you see is all because of him. And he's never in depression. If people forget me, then what? Let me do something to remind these people. G-O-D. Not only one plant, every leaf must have a step. If this paper, this leaf goes here and there, somewhere, then people should know it's not her or him, it's me. That's why he's not in depression. He created, he gave, he gives and forgets. It's me. We give, but we remind, it's me. We create, but we remind, it's because of me. And this creator has no signature anywhere. But we want signature on every single paper. If not is there, then we want to tell that person, it's my project, my thing. It's me. Yes, you need projects. Somebody should not steal your project. You have to present your company. But there is a bigger company. Life also is a project. You project yourself, people do big projects. I meet them every day. Then they try to project theirs. That's why the PR has happened all over the world. Somebody met me just last week. You know how much I spent for my PR? How much? He said 4 crore every month. I said, what? 40 million every month? What do you do? That people should see me. This, because of me, this is happening. This is my budget. And every newspaper, I come on the front page. He went on and on. I was thinking that how much in pain this guy is. He said, but I want some surety. This should sustain. Sometimes I don't get that much money, and if I don't get that much money, then I will not be on the front page because I will not be able to afford it. What an insecurity. You do big projects, project yourself, no problem. But end of the day, we should not forget one thing. I am also a project. I have to work on myself. Perfection is great, but affection is even greater. For this perfection sometimes, we forget the affection about people, that how I have to be connected with them. And how easily we hurt people in our family, in our work, at our work. All of that is because fear. Abhayam vai Brahma. One line in Upanishad, Abhayam vai Brahma. The fearlessness is the divinity. It's the supreme reality. Bhayat vai Bhavati. He says, whatever you see else happens because of fear. If you take away that fear, then who cares? That's why God is everywhere. People have not seen him even. And he is manifested everywhere. Everywhere. Nothing can bloom without him. Whether through sun, through moon, through stars, whatever name you give to that energy, doesn't matter. He has no problem. The bottom line is all that conscious living, all that right living, all that right relationship only happens when you are living right living. Not happens because of some rules and regulations. You are connected to the right one. Because the moment we forget that connection, everything falls apart. So, we'll go in details today in those mantras in these 3 days. Few those qualities I will take every day. The beautiful thing is that it starts with Abhayam. First is Abhayam. Abhayam, which is the base of everything. So we have this beautiful book. We will chant these mantras together. I will do it first, then you will repeat it, that at least the correct pronunciation we can learn and we can teach to our children this correct pronunciation. Regarding these mantras or anything you have any questions, we can talk later on, but let us learn these mantras correctly when we can have correct pronunciation, and then every day if you can do it, this will be great, not only the mantra but of the meaning of the mantras. Then we'll take those 20 divine qualities in the chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita, and we'll go one by one. So please open your first page of your Vedic Mantras book. Karagre vasate Lakshmi. Karagre vasate Lakshmi. Karagre vasate Lakshmi. Karamu madhye Saraswati. Karamadhye Saraswati. Karamule tu Govinda. Karamule tu Govinda. Prabhate Karadarshanam. Prabhate Karadarshanam. Samudravasane Devi. Samudravasane Devi. Parvat स्तनमण्डले स्तनमण्डले विष्णु पत्नी नमस्तुभ्यं विष्णु पत्नी नमस्तुभ्यं पादस्पर्शं क्षमस्व मे पादस्पर्शं क्षमस्व मे गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः अखण्डमण्डलाकारम् व्याप्तं येन चराचरम् तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै Sakalam parasmai Narayanayeti Samarpayami 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 Om Bhurbhuvasvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo yo nah Prachodayat Om Swasti na Indra Vriddhashravah Swasti na Usha Vishwadeva Vishwaveda Om Swasti no Indra Vriddhashravah Swasti na Usha Vishwaveda Swasti nastaraksho Arishtanemi Swasti no Brihaspatir Dadhatu Om Shanti 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 Sarvamangalamangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanye Tyambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute Karapura Gauram Karunavataram Sansarasaram Bhujagendraharam Sada Vasantam Hridayaravinde Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namani Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhana Dityor Mokshiya Amrita Antariksham Shanti. Prithvi Shanti. Rapa Shanti. Aushadhayah Shanti. Vanaspatayah Shanti. Vishve Devah Shanti. Brahma Shanti. Sarvam Shanti. Shantireva Shanti. Sama Shantiredhi. Om Shanti. 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 Bhadram Karnebhi. Shrunuyama Bhadram Pashye Makshibhir Yajatraha Sthirairangai Dushtuvagvam Tanubhi Sthirairangai Dushtuvagvam Tanubhi Yashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swastina Indro Vritthashravaha Swastina Usha Vishwavedaha Swastinastaaraksho Arishtanemihi Swastino Brihaspatirdadhatu Om Shanti. 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 Yesterday somebody mentioned to me for the right pronunciation. This is the first time I have done this way, and I thought no problem. I'll go with you all and we can chant together. And 3 days we will do it together. At least when you go back home, the pronunciation is correct, meanings are there. If you need another clarification, we can share about that also. But now, the Bhagavad Gita. The Mahatma Gandhi said so beautifully, whenever I want to smile, in those moments which steal our happiness, our peace, our tranquility, then only, and then I turn to Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita's every mantra is so powerful, is so meaningful, which brought prasad, the blessing, in not only in Arjuna's life, but millions and millions and millions of people on this earth. Whether it's Shakespeare, Goethe, Keats, all they have gone through, even Einstein, all they have gone through the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. And they have written, they have realized their experiences, how they felt in those moments, so calm, connected, and in peace. I thought when Sadhvi yesterday started, so why not this time talk about these beautiful, some of the mantras, not every mantra we can take, but the mantras which are very, very important for our life, how to remove the fear, how we can have antakarana shuddhi, the purity of our heart, how we can live on the path of ahimsa, on the path of fortitude, on the path of austerity, on the path of forgiveness, all these values, that if you want to live a life of divinity, these are the 26 characteristics, these values, these qualities we should every day introspect in our life. Practice and introspect. As Sadhvi said, this mantra I always give, and gave her also when she came, the 3 multivitamins, because she was coming from the world where people believe in pills. If you have some problem, take this pill and you are done. I said, let me give these pills to her also. The meditation, no reaction, and introspection. Introspection is a wonderful practice. Before you sleep, every evening, these beautiful mantras, what we are going to chant now, in these 3 mantras, the concept of being divine, Lord Krishna told himself to Arjuna. It means if Bhagavan has said himself, it means they are so powerful, they are so meaningful, they contain all that what we need to sustain our life. So, the first, second and third mantra of 16th chapter contains all those beautiful divine values. Let us now chant with me and for the correct pronunciation, and later on you can keep practicing. Maybe in 3 days, if you repeat with me every day, by the time you go back home, they will be all in your heart. And they will be in your daily practice. And that's the purpose being here, that something special, something extra, we can take it from here to back our home, and wherever we are, that we can feel that we were in the camp. Our life must change after being here for 3 days. If somebody meets you in the shopping center, at home, or anywhere, say, my God, you are totally a different person. That should happen. Then you can see the power of this camp, power of this place, that everyone says, okay, I will give the ticket next time to you, you must go to that camp. This should happen. And it happened in our international yoga camp. Some lady came from Hollywood. Her husband was making films, but they were on the verge of taking divorce. Things happen in life, and she was very puzzled, very much in pain. She started going to yoga classes, going for meditation, looking for solution, how to find solution for this situation, rather than going through divorce. She was not happy with that. And it happened, she came to Rishikesh. We had our International Yoga Festival, and being there for 1 week, learning all those techniques of yoga, meditation, and whatever was being discussed there, she was very serious about that, because she was looking for solution. When we are looking for solution, we are serious. We want to find out something, we want to hang on something. And she was so much into it. When she came back home, her husband came to pick her up, and the change he saw in her, he said, wow, next time, twice a year, I will send you back to that place. You are amazing. No more divorce. Can you believe it? And this is a true story. That change comes in your daily life, in your behavior, how you say, your eyes tell everything. The moment you meet, where you come from. And this 1 week, 3 days, 4 days, we should become like that. When we go back home, that you don't have to buy a ticket from your side pocket or your purse account. He should say or she should say, next time we'll go together. Next time we all go together. Our family should go together, not only we should go to Rishikesh. That should happen. And let us now start with these beautiful mantras. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Take this paper, one sheet paper, because it's only in that. It's one page. Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhi Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti Dhanam Damascha Yagyascha Swadhyayah Tapa Arjavam. Now full shlok again. Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhi Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti Dhanam Damascha Yagyascha Swadhyayastapa Arjavam. Ahimsa Satya Makrodha. And when you divide, this will becomes Ahimsa Satyam Akrodha. Ma and A becomes one, that becomes Makrodha. But when you chant Ahimsa Satyam Akrodha is one time. But when you speak separately, then Sat Ahimsa Satyam Akrodha Tyagaha Shantihi Apaishunam. When you do it together, it becomes Shanti Apaishunam. There are rules in the Sanskrit grammar. When Ra is there in one side, the other side is A, becomes Rapaishunam, becomes together. So Ahimsa Satyam Akrodha Tyagaha Shanti Rapaishunam Daya Bhuteshvaloluptam. Again, this is a little hard. Daya Bhuteshvaloluptam. Daya Bhuteshvaloluptam. Tamnitvam Lolupvam. Daya Bhuteshvaloluptam. Mardavam Hrirachapalam. Mardavam Hrirachapalam. Mardavam Hrirachapalam. Tejaha Kshama Dhritihi Shaucham Adroho Natimanata. Again, Tejaha Kshama Dhritihi. Now together, Shaucham Adroho. This is Shaucham Adroho. Shaucham Adroho. Shaucham Adroho. Natimanita. Teja Kshama Dhriti Shaucham. Adroho Natimanita. Bhavanti Sampadam Daya. Bhavanti sampadam daivim abhijatasya bharata abhijatasya bharata. One more time, 3 of the shlokas. Abhayam sattva sangshuddhir Jnana yoga vyavasthiti Dhanam damascha yagyascha Swadhyayastapa arjavam Ahimsa satyam akrodha Tyagah shantirapayshunam Daya bhuteshvaloluptvam Daya bhuteshvaloluptvam Mardvam hirachapalam Mardavam hirachapalam Teja kshamadhriti shaucham Atroho nati manita Bhavanti sampadam daivim Abhijatasya bharata Bhavanti sampadam daivim Abhijatasya bharata Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, if you are looking for moksha, Daivi Sampad Vimokshaya, if you are looking for moksha, this Daivi Sampati, these divine 26 qualities are to relieve you, to give you solution, liberation, and Nibandhaya Surimataha. Nibandhaya Asuri Mataha. Asuri Nibandhaya Mataha. For the bandhan, for the bondage, R is the Asuri one. If you don't follow these paths, you are bound to fall on the path of Asuri, means not the right one, the wrong path. Your nature will become a demonic nature. Day by day you will see, because of Dambha, Darpam, Abhimanascha, there is another mantra, I will talk later about that, how these Asuris qualities and Devi qualities come to our life and shape our life, make our life or break our life. We'll talk tomorrow, it's 11:30 now, and when you are in your room, when you have a free time, chant these mantras. Before you leave, memorize these mantras and make part of your life every day, that you can chant, and when you go back, less chatting, more chanting. गप नहीं करनी है, जप करना है. These 3 days are very precious 3 days. You are very busy. You know the American life. It's not that easy. You are very special. You have taken this step. You had the courage that let me take this break and shape my life. If you have taken this step, these 3 days, every minute and every moment, take like Anushtan, a special meditation. Take like this Anushtan and use every minute of our life to find yourself and to create yourself. First find yourself. Where do you stand? What is happening to me? Why this unnecessary garbage, the trash, the junk comes to me and takes over? If you have created the system, your computer, you have created the firewalls, you have created the system, no junk can enter. Why in your own, such a precious life, this junk can happen every evening, every day, every minute, every moment, and we become so much in pain. These 3 days are here, not to take the pills, but how with the purity? How with this ecstasy? You can feel the ecstasy, you can have that purity, you can have that divinity, and that only can happen if I immerse myself in these 3 days into this nectar. And its availability is here, opportunity is here, and now it's you, how you use it. It's my request, humble request. I have seen the change when people take it seriously. Things change in their lives so beautifully when they go back home. Before they go back home, they come back to themselves. And that's what is needed today. In this 3 days camp, God bless you. Let us maintain the time every time. That spirituality is time management. To me, and spirituality is tongue management. Sometimes we don't manage our tongues. We don't manage our time, and we don't manage our thoughts. That's why we are in mess. That's why we are in pain. So we'll talk about this time management, tongue management, and thought management. Why our rishis have given so much stress on this management, and what is that which keeps us in pain or keeps us away from the pain. We'll talk in our next sessions. God bless you. Let's close our eyes and have the final prayer of this session. All together, because you know this mantra now.
A quick logistic announcement.